Cheerful Mia met John at the factory where they both worked. When John found out she was expecting, he couldn't wait to take her back to his hometown for their household registration and marriage. Excited, Mia, you're going to love my hometown. I can't wait to show you around. Hopeful hearing his enthusiastic hometown accent, Mia decided to give it a chance. Cheerful, all right, John. Let's do it. Serious, they traveled through various means: high-speed train, green train, long-distance bus, and finally a tractor. After much effort, they arrived at the foot of a mountain that wasn't even marked on the map. Terrified, the tractor spewed thick, choking black smoke, making Mia cough and retch violently. Friendly, the man driving the tractor handed Mia a bottle of mineral water. Relieved, thank you, sir. Serious. Interrupting, wait. My wife is expecting, and she might not be used to the local river water. Unfriendly, the man driving the tractor chuckled slyly, and John explained to Mia. Serious, this water is just filled from the river, not sanitary. It's meant to fool outsiders. Shy Mia reluctantly believed John's explanation, but the tractor continued to sputter and smoke without moving forward. Frustrated, when will we get home? Awkward, let's take a break. Uncle Bob came all the way to pick us up from the town. We need to rest before heading up the mountain, or the tractor might break down halfway. Serious, as night fell and the road signs became invisible, the tractor finally moved forward again. After about 20 minutes, it stopped in a small village with only about 20 households. Terrified, the village had an unusually high number of dogs, all well-fed and fierce-looking. Groups of men stood by the roadside, their eyes filled with a mix of gloom and menace. They openly scrutinized Mia from head to toe, their lecherous smiles making her feel like prey. Cheerful, my wife is expecting. Please take good care of us, uncles and brothers. Serious, a hunched man gave John a thumbs up. Cheerful, good job. Serious, the gate to John's house opened, revealing a fierce-looking old woman, followed by a dark-skinned man with yellow teeth. Serious, she's expecting? How many months? Cheerful, Mom. This is Mia. She's been expecting for over a month. As soon as we found out, I brought her home. Shy, hello, sir and madam. Awkward, that's our big brother David. Our father passed away early. Serious, Mrs. Smith stepped aside to let them in. As soon as Mia stepped into the yard, David slammed the gate shut and locked it with a brass lock. Terrified, suddenly, a woman's shrill scream echoed in the yard. Shouting, run! Serious, Mrs. Smith swiftly pulled out a roll of tape from her pocket, grabbed the woman's hair, and expertly wrapped it around her head. In the dark yard, all Mia could hear was the clinking of chains and the woman's muffled struggles. Reassuring, don't be afraid, Mia. My sister-in-law has a mental illness and attacks people. We had no choice but to lock her in the pigsty. Unfriendly, women need to be obedient, or else. Cheerful, interrupting, brother, is dinner ready? Mia is expecting, and we can't let our son go hungry. Serious, John's demeanor had changed so quickly. When he was courting Mia, he claimed to be a doting father to daughters. Serious, as Mia put down her suitcase and prepared to take out the gifts she had brought, she noticed Mrs. Smith giving John a look. Apologetic, Mia, give me your phone. I'll charge it for you. The voltage in the mountains is unstable, and it might run out of power soon. Serious, before Mia could react, John took her phone from her pocket and turned it off as he walked away. Serious, Mia had arranged with Officer Mark that if she lost contact for more than 24 hours, it would signal the start of the operation. She instinctively touched the button on her coat to calm herself and tried to recall the path they took to the village. Serious, unfortunately, it was pitch dark when they arrived, and the tractor's smoke had stung her eyes, making it impossible to see clearly. Serious, John took Mia's phone, and Mrs. Smith brought in a large bowl of plain noodles and a bowl of sauce. John eagerly served Mia a bowl of noodles, mixed it, and handed it to her. Serious Mrs. Smith glared at him fiercely. How could Mia dare to eat? She pretended to be obedient and served 3 bowls, finally handing one to John. Playful, honey, eat up. Serious, the 3 of them devoured the food, and only then did Mia dare to eat the noodles to fill her stomach. She was here to find someone, not to get herself into trouble. Serious, to avoid arousing suspicion, Mia volunteered to wash the dishes after the meal. Even though she was just squatting in the yard washing dishes, David and Mrs. Smith stood guard on either side of the wall, pretending to watch the excitement outside. Serious Mia wiped her hands and called out to John. Cheerful, honey, is my phone charged? I want to watch some short videos. Serious, no signal, better get some sleep. Serious, fortunately, they believed Mia was carrying John's child and had prepared a room and bedding for them. Mia pretended to yawn and complained to John. Shy, ever since I got pregnant, I feel like I can't wake up, always sleepy. Serious with that, she lay down and pretended to sleep without even washing up. John tried to get close, but Mia pushed him away. Sweet, after all that traveling, aren't you worried about the baby? Cheerful, I'll go cool off. If it weren't for the baby, I'd show you how I'd handle you. Serious, after a while, Mia heard John come in to check if she was asleep. She continued to pretend to sleep. Soon, she heard Mrs. Smith's voice from the next room. Serious, David, you're really something, tricking that girl into staying. The woman Mike brought back caused a scene as soon as she arrived and ended up losing her almost full-term baby. She deserved to be sold to the remote mountains. Serious, you can trust Mom with this girl. She won't escape. After the wedding, I'll go out and earn $10,000 for the family, and then we'll buy another one. Serious, as long as she gives the family 2 grandsons, I'll let her go out with you to earn money. Then we'll build a big house and live a prosperous life, making everyone envious. Serious, Mom, we came back to get married. Let us go out together to earn money. Otherwise, how will we raise the kids? Serious, raising kids is just a matter of a pair of chopsticks. Aunt Mary is great at delivering babies, only costs $100. No matter how crazy a woman is, tie her up and she can still deliver the baby safely. Unfriendly, I let you have a go with the last one I bought. This one didn't cost the family anything, so as long as she's obedient, I won't touch her. If you think you're too good to earn money for the family, try it. Don't think you're sophisticated just because you've seen the outside world. Terrified Mia felt a chill run through her. This family wasn't human. They were demons from hell. Serious, someone knocked on the gate, and David asked in a drawn-out voice. Curious, who is it? Excited David, good news. Old Tom's new wife ran away, but we caught her. According to tradition, it's time for all the men to have their share. Serious Mia heard David and John excitedly run out, and she sat up abruptly. Should she run or not? The only one left at home was the old woman. Serious Mia listened carefully. The yard and street were quiet. She quietly got up and dressed. She glanced at the bag of clothes she had brought and decided to leave it. She tiptoed to the yard and suddenly saw the shadow of the old woman holding a stick behind her shadow. Groggy John, honey, where are you? I need to use the bathroom, and it's so dark out here. Serious, the old woman put down the stick and turned to get a flashlight. A beam of light shone at Mia's feet. Friendly, thank you, madam. John and I are getting married soon. Can I call you Mom? My mother passed away 3 years ago, and I haven't had a mom since then. Hopeful Mrs. Smith's stern face softened a bit, and she forced a smile. Friendly Mia, you're so sensible. John is lucky. The men went to watch the excitement in the village. You should go back to sleep. John will be back soon. Serious Mia obediently returned to the room, looking at the drafty old house and listening to the faint cries of women from the street. Running straight out of the village was no longer an option. She had to wait for another opportunity. Serious after a long time, David and John returned, still talking and laughing, their accents thick. Fortunately, Mia had done her homework and could barely understand that they were still relishing the recent excitement.
I pretended to be asleep all night and only managed to get a little rest just before dawn. Before breakfast, I approached John with a question.
Do we need to go to town to register our marriage?
To my surprise, John remained silent. Mrs. Smith chimed in casually.
The village secretary can handle it for you. When he goes out, he'll take a photo of you too, then he'll take it to town and bring back the completed paperwork.
It's not easy to travel from here.
I looked at John, seeking confirmation.
Is there really a place where you don't have to go in person to register a marriage?
In small places like this, transportation is inconvenient. Don't worry, the marriage certificate will be genuine.
How could I deceive you? Of course, I'll make it official.
I smiled sweetly and urged John to get some rest. The next day, he promised to take me rabbit hunting, one of the fun activities he had described about his hometown. The next morning after breakfast, I urged John to take me for a walk. It took only about 20 minutes to walk from one end of the village to the other. The entire village was nestled in a narrow valley, with narrow entrances at both ends. Amidst the constant barking of dogs, there were intermittent cries of women. A few people were chatting on the village road. When they saw John and me, they started gossiping.
Look, it's John and his new bride.
Most of the people chatting were men, with a few elderly women among them. A young girl with 2 yellowish pigtails, wearing dirty adult clothes, carrying a chubby boy on her back and holding a hoe, came back from outside the village.
Uncle Bob, you brought Aunt Jane back.
It's not a holiday or weekend. Why aren't you in school?
We're poor here. Only boys get to go to school.
I took out 2 pieces of milk candy from my pocket and handed them to her. Her eyes finally showed a hint of light.
Thank you, Aunt Jane.
She eagerly unwrapped the candy and put it in her mouth. Unexpectedly, a scruffy man approached and slapped her face.
You worthless girl. You got something good and didn't give it to your brother first?
Hey, don't hit her.
She's my daughter. I'll discipline her as I see fit. Since when do women call the shots in Wong Village?
John pulled me aside and tried to reason with Jack.
Jack, Lucy is obedient and hardworking. She's about to bring you a good bride price, so stop hitting her.
If the fortune teller hadn't said she would bring me luck, I would have dealt with her like others do.
This place was called Wong Village. I finally got a useful piece of information.
My wife is new here, and there aren't many young women in the village to keep her company. Lucy is always taking care of kids, so she can keep my wife company.
John made an excuse to go buy wedding supplies and told me not to leave the village because there were wolves outside. Then he left with David. Lucy and I found a haystack and sat in the sun. The boy on her back was very naughty, pulling her pigtails and pinching her hard whenever he was unhappy.
If you hit him, will he listen to you at home? You're so much bigger than him, how can you let him bully you?
Tears slowly rolled down Lucy's expressionless face. I hurriedly stuffed all the chocolate and milk candy I had into her hands.
Don't cry, have some candy.
The village dogs started barking again. The gate of a house at the village entrance opened, and 2 men dragged out a rolled-up mat with a rope. One end of the mat revealed a mess of long hair. In the sunlight, I could vaguely see that it had once been dyed a bright red. She must have been a fashionable, pretty woman once. The other end of the mat showed a pair of lifeless feet. Lucy sighed heavily, sounding like an elderly person nearing the end of their days. After tossing away the tattered bedding, 2 men walked back, chatting and laughing, even whistling at me sitting on the haystack.
Aunt Jane, don't even think about running away. If a woman leaves the village without a man accompanying her, everyone will join in to catch her.
What? Why?
If you get caught trying to escape, at best you'll be tormented for a few days and then sold deeper into the mountains. If you can't endure the torment, you'll end up like her.
I want to spend my life with John. I wasn't bought.
Lucy looked at me as if I were some rare creature. After a while, she spoke again.
I need to go home and make lunch. I'll come find you this afternoon.
Lucy escorted me back to John's house. That old woman was carrying a large bucket of pig feed, scooping it into the trough. With a clattering of chains, a woman locked in the pigsty rushed out, crawling and scrambling, and began shoveling the dirty pig feed into her mouth with both hands.
Serves you right for trying to run away, you crazy fool.
The broken ladle cut a gash on the woman's forehead, and blood started flowing. The woman wiped her face, saw her hand covered in blood, and immediately started kowtowing in terror.
I won't do it again. I won't do it again.
At that moment, the old woman suddenly turned to me, glaring fiercely.
You better take good care of my grandson and don't think about running away. Your little tricks might fool my son, but I've been here for over 50 years. What kind of woman haven't I seen?
Mom, this is John's and my child. I'm afraid to even walk fast, let alone run away. The doctor said my condition is delicate, so I need to take good care of the baby. It's precious.
Mrs. Smith looked at me suspiciously, then forced a smile, glancing at my belly.
Go rest inside. Once the baby is stable, you'll need to learn to help with the house and field work. You're lucky. The young wives in the village who want to work in the fields usually have at least 2 children.
I cursed silently but walked slowly towards the house, pretending to caress my flat belly.
Mom, when will John be back?
He went to get things for your wedding feast. He should be back by evening.
With the men not at home, lunch was just cornmeal cakes and pickles. After lunch, Lucy came over to play, and the old woman was hiding somewhere, secretly watching. Lucy sneakily took out a greasy chicken leg from her pocket and handed it to me.
Here, eat this.
Seeing her swallowing her saliva, I pushed the chicken leg back to her and gave her some beef jerky I had brought.
You have it. I brought this for you.
Lucy took a bite of the chicken leg, swallowed, and spoke.
It's clean, no additives. I earned it.
I looked at Lucy curiously, and she gave a bitter smile.
They all say I'll get my comeuppance and end up like them sooner or later. Actually, most of the women who try to escape from our village are reported by me. I get chicken legs for reporting them, but the rest of the chicken goes to my dad and brother.
I stared at Lucy in shock. She took another big bite of the chicken leg.
Even if I don't report them, they can't escape. We're so poor here. If we don't find wives to have sons, these dozen or so villages in the mountains would die out. Even in the town, there are people who catch runaway wives. In recent years, it's not just hard to find wives, even men with some skills find it hard to trick a few back.
Lucy handed me the half-eaten chicken leg and took out an ID card from her pocket. She handed it to me.
This was left by my real mom. When she gave birth to my brother, she was still locked in the cellar. The village midwife only pulled out my brother, and my mom passed from excessive bleeding. Someone who had been to school said this has my mom's name and where she lived. I stole it, planning to take it out if I ever got the chance. When I saw you, I knew you had a better chance of getting out.
I took the ID card from Lucy and glanced at the scholarly girl with glasses on it. If she were still alive, she would be my age today. But she died tragically in that dark cellar 3 years ago. Or perhaps, she died the moment she was trafficked into the mountains. Lucy told me that every woman who tried to get escape routes from her would receive a map, from her.
A map?
But the map was drawn by the village chief, and there were as many as needed. It was impossible to escape. The villages around here are at least 50 or 60 miles apart, and the men in each village have agreements to help catch escapees. Girls like me, born here, are often married off with a large dowry before they even turn 14 or 15. These girls with families are not locked in cellars, but beatings are common, and they remain slaves and childbearing tools for their husband's family for life.
The weight of her. Lucy started talking, and once she did, it was like a floodgate had opened.
Lucy, are you sure about all this?
Since I can remember, there have been at least 30 to 50 women in the village who were either misled or forced into marriage.
Mia listened intently, allowing Lucy to continue.
Some couldn't bear the suffering and left us early. Others harmed themselves to avoid having children and were sent to even more remote places. There are still a dozen locked away in cellars, woodsheds, or pigsties.
But have you seen anyone who looks like my sister?
No, I'm sorry. I haven't seen anyone like that.
Everyone they met could be an accomplice, carrying sedatives that were colorless and tasteless when dissolved in water.
Here, take these. I stole them from home.
Mia was utterly shocked.
Thank you, Lucy. But what about the town? How can I get there?
You might find help if you reach a town. But these mountains are vast, filled with hidden dangers.
Lucy heard the front door unlocking.
The old woman's back. I need to go home and cook.
In the evening, John and David returned from the town with supplies. John had a smug smile on his face. The old woman started nagging.
That old hag from Tom's family. Their daughter-in-law ran away, and their grandson won't survive.
John threw the supplies into the yard and, along with David, grabbed a stick to confront Tom's family.
John, be careful. Don't get hurt.
Mia chased after them as the old woman picked up half a brick. Tom was standing at his gate, eyeing Mia maliciously. The brothers started fighting with Tom. Mia quickly turned towards the bathroom. The old woman threw the brick, hitting Tom in the face, causing him to bleed profusely. The village descended into chaos.
How dare you hit my mother, bully my husband, and curse my son? I'll fight you.
Mia swung a ladle wildly. Tom's mother pulled her hair, and the old woman pinned her down.
How dare you curse my family? Beat her.
The village head and a dozen young men broke up the fight. John had lumps all over his head. Mia clutched her stomach, crying.
My stomach hurts. If anything happens to the baby, I'll fight the Tom family.
The Tom family is cursed. They deserve to be wiped out.
Tom swung his stick down, and the old woman collapsed. David and John carried the old woman into the house. Mia quickly went to the kitchen.
John, get a vehicle quickly. We need to take Mom to the hospital.
What's a concussion? How much does it cost?
In the city, people with brain injuries become disabled. They can't work or walk steadily.
The old woman was barely alive after drinking the water.
John, we need to get Mom to the hospital.
David pulled John into the yard to discuss. Mia poured all the sedatives into a water bottle and pretended to care for the old woman on the tractor. A member of the Chen family joined, responsible for paying the medical bills. By the time they reached the hospital, it was almost dawn. The Chen family member caused a scene in the doctor's office.
John, where's the money? We need to pay for Mom's treatment.
John called the Chen family for more money. Mia spotted Officer Mark through the window. She briefly explained the situation to Officer Mark.
Officer, the situation is worse than expected. We need help.
Officer Mark arranged for Emily to protect Mia. Mia's task was to lead them into Qingxi village. Mia carried the soy milk and led Emily to the hospital's first floor.
This young lady is a travel blogger. She wants to take photos of the natural scenery. What does natural scenery mean?
Where's the money? Hurry up and pay for my mom's treatment.
David and John whispered to each other.
Big brother can stay with mom. I'll take you and this young lady to take photos and get money from the Chen family.
Emily had just gotten onto the tractor with us when the kind-hearted driver handed her a bottle of water. I discreetly pinched Emily, and she immediately understood. She pretended to take a few sips, using her sleeve to cover up the fact that she was spitting it out. After a while, she leaned softly against me. Feigning panic, I shook her gently.
Emily, are you okay?
She'll be fine.
John reached under the tattered mat at the back of the tractor and pulled out a rope, skillfully tying Emily up. I was stunned.
John, do you know this is illegal?
John nonchalantly pointed to a roadside sign that read, "Do not abandon baby girls."
If we don't bring women back, our dozen or so villages will die out.
What? This is madness.
Every household that gets this kind of opportunity won't let it pass. You're truly a great benefactor to our family.
I was in utter disbelief.
John, this is illegal. Where are you planning to take her?
Listen, take this girl back. The boss guarantees you can come with me to work at the factory, and then you can have your baby in a hospital.
John, you can't be serious.
Mia, you have to believe that I love you. I'm thinking of you. Most women in our village have never been to a hospital to give birth. Every year, a few die from childbirth.
Is that what I was concerned about? How could I possibly have your child?
I had no choice but to play my last card. Holding my stomach, I cried and said,
Please, for the sake of the baby, where are you planning to sell her?
First to the boss. If she's obedient, she'll stay with us. Our mom has a good heart, she won't harm her. If she's really ungrateful, we'll sell her to Taitu village or Shioao. Those villages are even more isolated and can only buy from us.
The tractor took us back to Qingxi village. John carried Emily to the cellar and tied her up. The usually quiet Liang household suddenly became bustling. Several families came to John with offers, even making reservations for the next one, hoping John could trick a few more women back to contribute to the village. I didn't expect that in the middle of the night, David would return with the still unconscious old woman. The Chen family agreed to pay a total of 10,000 yuan, so David decided not to seek further medical treatment for the old woman and brought her home to nurse her slowly.
What is happening here?
The village dogs suddenly started barking wildly. The men who had been bidding around John and David immediately grabbed sticks and began shouting.
Whose woman has run away?
John pushed Mia back into the house.
Mia, keep an eye on mom and the one in the cellar. Going out now might get you mistaken for a runaway.
Outside, the noise grew louder as John and David rushed out with excitement on their faces. It seemed they enjoyed the activity of capturing runaway women. Unfortunately for them, this time they were disappointed. Sporadic gunshots echoed. Mia quickly opened the cellar door and let Emily, who had already freed herself from the ropes, out. The outside was in chaos.
Run into the deep mountains.
Emily pushed something into Mia's pocket and climbed over the wall. The courtyard gate was smashed open, and John grabbed Mia's hand.
The police are here. Let's hide in the mountains.
David was about to go down into the cellar, but John stopped him.
Just cover the cellar entrance. Let's go.
David carried their mother on his back, and John carried Mia. They followed the villagers, stumbling along the path into the mountains.
They even prepared a cave in the deep mountains, stocked with supplies.
The village chief counted the people from each household, checking who was missing.
Anyone who reveals our village's secrets will face severe consequences. I will find out who brought the police this time.
David brought Mrs. Smith back using a tractor from Wang village. In the cave, everyone was cursing the unreliable people from Wang village, and no one noticed Mia slipping out. Before dawn, Mia used the flare Emily had given her.
What's going on outside?
Lucy blocked the entrance.
My Aunt Jane is relieving herself. Who dares to come out and look? My uncles will deal with them.
John chuckled.
This girl is worth the care.
Mia saw the headlights of a Jeep and called out to Lucy.
Lucy, come and see what this is.
Mia grabbed Lucy's hand, and amidst the barking dogs, they got into the Jeep. Gunshots rang out outside, and Lucy trembled in Mia's arms.
Don't be afraid. I'll take you out of these mountains, let you go to school, and if your mother or any relatives are still alive, I'll help you find them.
This operation took over a month, rescuing more than 40 abducted women from the mountains. Fortunately, Mia's sister, who was in a terrible state, was eventually rescued from the deep mountains. The number of people involved in the case was shocking. When Mia returned to civilization with her sister and Lucy, it felt like a nightmare. Lucy's brother was sent to an orphanage, and Mia took Lucy to her biological mother's family with the police's help. After 12 years of losing her daughter, receiving the news of her death was still devastating. Although Lucy longed for the best foster parents her biological mother mentioned, they did not accept Lucy. Mia's sister had severe post-traumatic stress disorder, but thankfully, she survived. Mia took her to their parents' grave. Her sister knelt, crying and bleeding from her forehead in remorse. Having lost the ability to have children, Mia's sister eventually begged her.
Please adopt Lucy.
The adoption process was complicated, but with Officer Mark's help and Lucy's clear willingness to live with them, they managed. Returning from hell, Mia's responsibilities grew heavier. She worked hard to earn money for her sister's treatment and to cover Lucy's tuition and living expenses. Despite the difficulties, there was hope as long as they were together. With Lucy's encouragement, Mia's sister gradually overcame her fears and started doing some manageable work. Watching her use her first paycheck to buy Lucy a long-desired hamburger and hearing Lucy's tearful mom, even Mia's eyes